Good morning, everyone. I'm Tanys Coughlan from My Place Home Care, and we are here for Compassionate Chats. Sorry, there was something going on my screen. I was like, welcome. I am joined by my co-host, Heidi Gagne, and we have an awesome guest today, Karen Tyrell, here to speak about dementia. Welcome.
Thank you.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do, Karen, and get us started with that.
Sure. Okay. So I've been in this caregiving, dementia care, senior care world for over 30 years now. So I love what I do. I am very passionate about dementia care, making sure the people who are affected by dementia are getting the right supports. And the people that are caring for those individuals with dementia are also getting the right supports, but getting the education, the tools, the strategies, those types of things to help them to do an amazing job at what they're already doing. But the sad thing is, people just don't know what they don't know. And so, as a dementia consultant, that's what I do. As a dementia educator, I educate the frontline staff as well as the community, and of course, the families themselves. But for me, I feel that dementia care has to be personalized.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a cookie cutter approach. Everybody will be different. And so, therefore, I named my company Personalized Dementia Solutions and incorporated it. So,
Beautiful.
That is, you touched on right off the bat of how personalized dementia is. Everybody is different. There is no one way that dementia will develop in somebody, and I think that is the hardest thing to understand and learn. Because we're almost done our first or second run of our workshop that we've designed, that My Place Home Care has designed with Carrie Durant, and it's we have our participants. There's 4 of them, and it's wonderful. And they're like, well, my husband's not there at that stage yet, and oh, he doesn't like that kind of thing, or my wife is doing this now, and it is very hard with education. Is you might never see it. You might never see that experience. Your loved one may never struggle with turning on the stove or leaving the stove on.
yes.
But others that might be the big thing. Some might not be suspicious. Some might be suspicious about absolutely everything. So it is so daunting and so overwhelming. And I was watching their reactions as we were talking about certain things. And I'm like, we're not here to scare you. Because it can be very scary to hear all these things. And so having somebody to talk to go over these ideas with is super key. And so and that applies to many different topics, which is why we have decided our Compassionate Chats, we're doing an advocacy series. So our first topic will be dementia advocacy. So how, as a caregiver, can you advocate for your loved one? And how can you advocate for yourself as a caregiver? And so this is what we'd really like to touch on. And Karen is going to be perfect for all this. So Karen, let's start with advocacy for the person themselves who's living with dementia. What can you do as a person living with early dementia? What can you do to start advocating for yourself?
Okay, so from my experiences, certainly if somebody receives a diagnosis, right away I would hope that they're going to find trusted people they can talk with, trusted people that they can share their emotions with, their fears, their worries, to let it out. So make sure you're not alone on the journey, that you do have those trusted people around you. And then around the same time, you will want to put forth your wishes, your hopes for the future, what you want to see happen, what you don't want to see happen, in case you get to that point where you're no longer capable of making those decisions. So getting all that down, your caregivers will be so appreciative if they know what you would like to see happen or what you want. That is an exercise where we call it advanced care planning.
Okay.
And I joke with some people because I for me, growing up, I had perms, And when I get to a care home, I always tell people, please don't give me a perm. I don't, I used to see that the little old ladies go get their hair permed all the time. So if I get there, please, I want that as part of my directive. Please do not do this for me. And make sure I always have my chapstick close by and my some Kleenex close by. Those types of things are very important. So we may not know those little nuances about every individual, but if we put that in writing, we start thinking about what I want.
Right.
Even up to, the end of life care or, heroic services, that sort of thing, for your healthcare, all that should be set forth in writing so that somebody can support you. And now let's talk about who can support you.
Right.
Appointing someone to do that work. In Ontario, they have the power of attorney and the power of personal care because they're two different people. One will take care of the finances, one will take care of the healthcare needs and the personal care needs. So appointing a trusted person to do those, it could be the same. It could be two different. It could be two over here and one over here on this side. Fix that how you want so that your wishes will be followed.
Mm-hmm.
But again, making sure that you've got these people around you to make these choices. So that will help you to stay firm. But also independence is a big concern for a lot of people, having that autonomy.
Yes.
There will be times when a person may not be able to do certain things, but can still do other things.
Yes.
So, for example, they may not be able to understand their finances, but some people may still be able to drive. So really trying to work with healthcare professionals on your team as well as family members on your team, because I have seen people who are affected by dementia, who've been diagnosed with dementia.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, there's many different types of dementia to be diagnosed with, whether it's Alzheimer's disease or frontal temporal dementia, vascular dementia, Lewy body dementia. There's many kinds of progressive types of dementia.
Mm-hmm.
There have been people who may not be able to make certain choices around finances, but again, their brain is still capable of noticing challenges in front of them in the moment, and still have good eyesight, peripheral vision, still have good judgment. So we don't want to pull away the independence and the autonomy from somebody prematurely, because it's almost like I give a poor example, but if I lost a finger, I can still do things. If I lost two fingers, I can still do things. And there's people who have lost their whole hand, but they can still work with their left. Or people with no hands are still doing amazing things in this world. So we don't know exactly where in the brain the damage has been. So working again with medical professionals to help that individual to stay as independent as long as possible, by talking to the doctor and where are my deficits? Okay, maybe I can start to have other supports for that. Maybe we can use electronic timers for my pills to remind me because I may forget, but don't take my independence away that I can't do my pills completely. So there's a variety of unique things we can do to help that individual, but it has to be personalized to what their deficits and their abilities are, right? We want to.
And so they have assessments and stuff that they do, right? They have cognitive assessments. I know that we have a geriatric assessment unit here.
Yes.
And I think they do a lot of that kind of work with the seniors. So do you have any recommendations for people to make sure in terms of what assessments to get, or is that left up to the doctor?
Well, every doctor will be different, but you can advocate for yourself by asking for these types of assessments. Like people have been given MRIs. They've been given, to sort of see exactly what's going on in the brain. I know it's hard to get MRIs, but get your name on that list. Or we've seen people actually take a private route to get the MRI done. Even a CT scan, which is quicker, to get a CT scan to see if there's damage in certain parts of the brain with scar tissue, that sort of thing.
Right.
There's people that can do blood work also to advocate, because maybe there's a low B12 happening in the body, vitamin B12. So maybe a supplement or maybe getting vitamin B12 shots may prolong a person's independence because of that. So really looking deep into what's happening, as well as conversations around their medications, what they should be considering for their own health, more magnesium, more potassium. Maybe that has to be considered as well to keep things going strong. So it's hard. It is sad, but having those people to talk with as well, on top of the medical professionals in your world, I think is very valuable. Whether it's a one-on-one counselor, whether it's the group support for people in early stages, or people who are young and are going through young onset type of dementia, to chat with those individuals, because it's very different going through dementia at the age of 45 to 55
Right.
compared to what it's like for people over the age of 65 or maybe even over the age of 85. So grabbing those types of supports to be with you on your journey, I think is very wise from the very beginning. When things do start to change, having those people appointed, those caregivers in your life, will certainly make all the difference.
It must be such a difficult time, because at early onset, something's not right. You're forgetting something, or something seems off. But I guess acceptance would be really, really hard. And I would probably hinder a lot of people from advocating for themselves too, in these early stages, where they can get their wants and needs verbalized and written down early on while they still can do it. And oh man, it must be so hard. Like, I sometimes try to put myself in their shoes, and I'm like, I hope that I hope I'd be relatively accepting. Like, I'm like, I'd like to age gracefully. I would like to be accepting of things that would happen, but I bet you that is a very big battle that might hinder people from advocating for themselves, because they're just going to pretend it's not there.
That is highly possible. And there are those individuals that I've seen who are becoming advocates for Canada themselves when they receive a diagnosis. And that's incredible to see.
That's amazing.
So having purpose is still very important in someone's life, no matter what type of, whether it's dementia or different types of other health ailments, still having purpose in life. Oh my goodness, we all need purpose. So whether they're advocating for themselves, advocating for their community, even around, there's lots of dementia friendly communities, and they're trying to make their community more dementia friendly. Being a voice on that committee, that team, would be absolutely fantastic for those committee people who are maybe researchers. Hey, we need people's lived experiences. So coming and sharing their thoughts and their, what it's like for them to live with dementia, changes in their brain every day. Hearing that from that individual and other individuals will help these policymakers and researchers.
That's a really great idea, especially if somebody who is diagnosed with it is already, happy to jump on a platform and is vocal about a lot of things. Like, you see a lot of people that are vocal and stand up for people, and then things happen to them, and then, okay, now I'm going to switch to this. Now I have this, I know what it's like. Now I'm going to start advocating. Like, the ALS challenge started because, I believe it was somebody in their life, or they themselves, and they started advocating and started talking about it and removing the stigma of this sort of thing. Because that's another whole thing about dementia, is there's such a stigma.
There's still. And like I said, I've been in this field for 30 years. And I remember when I worked with the Alzheimer's Society, my community in Ontario, and being at a booth, at a table where there were all kinds of health information booths in the mall, and there was a small mall we had back then. And I had my table with the Alzheimer's Society, and you can see people looking, and then, don't
Yeah.
talk about that. And everyone else at their tables, I see they've got lots of people talking to them about, programs and services in their community for their different types of nonprofits. And hardly anybody. And then as years went on, my goodness, then we started getting people, oh yeah, my grandma had that. Oh yeah. And then they'd start talking to us about it. But, over time, it just seemed to evolve. Now people with dementia are talking about it, which is great to see, but not everybody.
No. Well, and then recently, when Bruce Willis was diagnosed and that came out publicly, huge conversations occurred with that. Not that I wish this on anybody, but like, it is amazing when people that have that platform, that their celebrity, whatever kind of celebrity it is to start speaking out about these things. And they're advocating for everybody else that's going to come after them and those that are with them in this journey. And you might not think it's advocating, but it totally is.
It's reducing that stigma that, hey, we are all not going to escape from this world of dementia. It happens to anyone, whether you're a celebrity, whether you're, somebody, a figure in your community, Parliament. It's going to happen to everyone. Dementia is on the rise, and it's not going away right now. We don't have that magic cure.
No.
Yeah.
So all we can do in this time, from my perspective, is to continue to learn. And that is very important for everyone. Keep learning. Learn from Bruce Willis's situation. Learn from even I lost his name. Robert Williams, with his type of dementia. That's a different one, Lewy body dementia. Learn from these celebrities if you can, but also learn from the community, your local Alzheimer's Society, companies like myself, companies like yours that puts on these education sessions. But keep in mind, everyone will be different, and we will have to tailor the information we receive for our situation. And if you need someone to come in and really tailor it to your personalized situation, there's my type of organization, but I know home care companies have a lot of people on their team who are there to help personalize, which is fantastic. And a lot of families don't realize this.
Yes.
Home care companies will bring you a person that can fit your scenario, who would be a driver to get them to appointments, or who can do some cooking, who can, do activities with them, who can educate the families about, oh, maybe we shouldn't say that, maybe we should say this instead. Really personalizing their day-to-day challenges, because that's what needs to happen in order for families to cope. Really. Right. They need that personalized support.
Okay, so now let's talk about the caregiver, the caregivers that are taking care of somebody living with dementia. Yeah. So how can they advocate for their loved one and themselves? Because they need to advocate for their own care, their own support, because it is exhausting. It is exhausting being a full-time caregiver for somebody living with dementia. What can they
I like
do?
How you said that. It's not exhausting. It's exhausting.
It's exhausting.
It is. And being in my role, I have seen so many caregivers learn their stories. I've been providing support groups each month, and I do see a similar theme, that if they are not learning continuously, okay, that's a big one. We got to keep learning. If they're not taking their breaks, and if they're not talking things out,
yes,
I don't see them surviving very well at all. So in order to survive this caregiving journey, those three things need to happen. So talking it out, taking your breaks, and continuously learning. That is how I see caregivers get through this with the least amount of scarring. It's because you can be scarred from this journey if you're not learning the right techniques and you're fighting all the time. No, get your pajamas on. We're going to bed. And they don't want to put their pajamas on, and you're just going to tire yourself out for trying to push something to happen in your home that the individual does not want to do. And with learning, you may learn from other people in support groups when you're talking it out. You also find out, well, I didn't push my husband when he stopped wanting to change to go to bed. Like, oh, well, he's in his, he's getting his sleep. I'm going to get my sleep. We're not fighting. We kept the peace. So you might learn these techniques by talking it out, that, there's no reason for me to be arguing. And we hear that. Everyone knows, don't argue, but they keep thinking, but this is the hill I feel like I should be dying on. Like, I really should be fighting for this. No, honey, you have to do this, or no, dear, and you come to realize after the fact, and there's so many families that come to me, oh my gosh, Karen, I wish I would have learned that sooner. I wish I would have known that years ago when we were dealing with this with my parents or my family member, whoever it was. And it breaks my heart to hear them say this, because it's, you don't know what you don't know until you're educated. And then, people think they're doing the right thing. Mm-hmm. And then they tend to regret. And I had somebody starting to cry the other night when, her dad is now in long-term care, but I was just casually chatting with friends. It was just friends, and it was a new person in our group. And she started to cry. She goes, I feel guilty. I said things to my dad. I got mad at him. I did these things, and I shouldn't have, because now he can't talk. And I wish I wouldn't have done those things. I learned late. And it's like, oh, it hurts me that families are learning late these things. So that knowledge factor, like really getting to understand what to do in each stage and what to do at each challenge, or what not to do or not to say.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
And one of the biggest things I've learned in my time here is you don't argue. It's not worth it. There really is no hill to die on. When you are living and caring for somebody there is no hill worth dying on. There really, it isn't worth it. And thinking outside the box, always think outside the box. Recently during one of the workshops, one of the gentlemen, he said, he's like, oh, my wife isn't eating anymore, or she'll only eat what's half on the plate. So if I give her 5 French fries, she'll only eat 2. I'm like, do you want her to eat 5 French fries? He's like, well, yeah, she needs to eat. She's losing weight. I'm like, give her 10 French fries. Give her 10 French fries and she's going to eat 5. So overload her plate. If she's only eating half of what's on the plate, give her double, and then she'll eat half, and she'll eat a full portion, and he's like, oh, I never thought of that. I'm like, yeah, thinking outside of the box, and again, taking your time, your own respite, your whatever you want to do, your self-care, go out for coffee with your friends, go out for a walk, and have somebody stay with your loved one, and that also will recharge you and prepare you. Because I know when I'm fighting with my older daughter, we battled it out a little bit more than my younger one, but I know that the first thing we would do when we would start fighting about the same thing and repeating over and over again is we'd walk away and we'd go our separate way, and we'd take that break. And you need that break to then think clearly. And so don't feel guilty for taking that break.
Yes.
Advocate for yourself to take that break. You are not a bad person for needing to walk away for a period of time. There's nothing wrong with it.
Can I share something that you reminded me a long time ago? It was 2022. A white paper came out from the Canadian Centre for Caregiving Excellence. Okay. And it said that if all family caregivers decided to take a week off in Canada, everybody says, you know what, I'm taking a week off from my caregiving role. And they all did it at the same time. Every Canadian, whether you're affected by dementia or not, every Canadian would see a collapse in the healthcare system in Canada by noon the first day.
That's insane. That is crazy to think that, but everything would just stop. You wouldn't be able to do anything.
Everything in the healthcare system would stop, because we would not be able to care for all the people, whether they have dementia or not, but even a teenager who is just, no dementia in their family, they have to go in for care or something in the, they're going to be affected. The healthcare system will be just collapsed. So it just shows you how much family caregivers do, how much we rely on them, but how much I think we should be supporting them better.
Yes.
We are not supporting our caregivers, I feel, in the right way, because families have come to me reaching out for help, which I'm so happy they do. But they're coming to me because they're so upset. They tried to reach out for help from the healthcare system and they've been turned down.
Yeah, that's devastating.
Your person with dementia isn't bad enough yet.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't need the help. What? They are still challenging, and the people that are making those assessments that you don't need our government help right now because you don't qualify. It's not bad enough. And it's just because the system just can't support everybody going through this journey.
Yeah.
At the level they need. So therefore, I'm so appreciative of the home care companies that are out there that can supplement the support. Even if they are getting some government services, there can be added supplement help, because that's not even enough. And then there are families that are not qualified yet, but they need help and they don't have anywhere to turn but to the home care companies. So what you're doing with My Place Home Care, I am so grateful for every home care company to be there for those caregivers when they need it.
Oh yeah. And it's sad. It's hard because we have people that will say, I've been trying to get my parents to get help for like 6 months, or a year. I've been pushing for them. And then finally, the spouse that is at that stage is just like, okay, I can't do this anymore. And it's devastating to hear because, 4 months ago, you might not have gotten to this stage. And it's really scary as well when the primary caregiver suddenly has a health issue.
Absolutely.
And
so
that is super scary. And then what do you do? So you need to advocate for your own health.
Yes.
And because if you want to be able to take care of your partner, you need to be good. You need to be healthy. You need to be solid. You need your mental health in check. You need your physical health in check.
Yes.
And advocating for those things, and it's not secondary. It should be up at the top of the list as well.
It's hard though for families. Sorry, Tanys. It's just hard for families to advocate, I've noticed. And I spoke about this in my last support group I gave on Friday, where they're exhausted, that they don't even have enough time, like as we said, exhausted, to even advocate for themselves. They just go with them, whatever. Okay, I can't fight it. Can't fight City Hall. I'm too exhausted. I can't do this. And one caregiver did call me several months before, just around Christmas, exhausted again because she's not sleeping. Her husband looks fine. He walks around. He still does his own showers. He still does everything, but he is up in the night all the time and she cannot sleep. And she's asked for help, but no, the government was not able to help her because he doesn't check all the boxes.
Yes.
But she's constantly having to monitor him though, because he does unsafe things. So constant monitoring of his day-to-day. She's not sleeping. She was so burnt out, contacted me. I gave her ideas on how to advocate, what to say. And she emailed me just after Christmas with an amazing thank you that she followed that advice and she got the help. So I'm just like, but I just need you to know that the caregivers can't advocate. So we need to make sure that people know this. So if we are those that are professionals helping those family caregivers, or whether you're a family or friend in the community helping these caregivers, keep this in mind, because they may not be reaching out because they're just too exhausted to advocate. Maybe we might be able to help them advocate. So just have that awareness, because there's not enough respite services out there for families, and they need that break. As I mentioned, they need to take breaks. So whether it's professional or a family member can come in for the afternoon, take mom or dad out for coffee or for a walk or whatever it might be, just to give that person, even if it's 1 hour, sometimes has made all the difference. And programs, look into day programs. Maybe that might be the right fit. But again, some people may not have that as an option where they're living, or the wait lists, or the person refuses to go to respite. So we've had that case too.
Right.
And that's a whole other topic I'd love to get to, but I'll give you that moment.
Well, I think
Sorry.
also the other thing to keep in mind with this is that with along that vein, the caregivers are in the situation like from the beginning. So sometimes they don't even realize the
The drain.
stress, like because it's coming constantly. And so it's kind of like a little bit of a weird analogy, but it's kind of like the frog, right? The boiling water. If you put a frog in boiling water, they're going to jump out because they feel the difference. If you put the frog in water and then turn the heat on and it starts to boil, they won't notice, right? And that is kind of what the caregivers are like, right? You're in the home with them all the time, and you're there because it's your home, and you're not aware.
You just accommodate.
All the time. Yeah.
You just slowly do. And I think if you're a parent, if you've had small children and your children have grown up and they're getting older, and I find this age, like my dad is in his 80 and my mom is in her mid to late 70s. And, my daughter, my youngest, is 17. She's going off to school soon. So in the last few years, I have been able to ease back on my 100% concern for my kid, because she's learning. She's growing up. She's learning how to take care of herself. And then like my grandson is 8. And so my daughter was 9 when he was born. And so she was just starting to become more independent. And I was relishing in that. Oh my God, I get me back. I'm getting me back because my kid is getting, and then my grandson was born, and my older daughter was in a difficult situation. And so they lived with us. And so then I'm like, oh, great. Now I'm back to being a secondary caregiver. And it exhausted me very quickly because I was just enjoying my independence. So I think a lot of people that are at my age might be feeling that, where their own children are moving on and becoming independent, but now their parents need more help from them. And because we're parents, we just do it. A lot of parents just automatically move into that. Okay, so now I got to take care of my parents need help. I'm going to just keep doing that. And then it just snowballs into it just snowballs into what Tanys was saying, where you just don't notice how much you're doing and you're losing yourself. And that's a dangerous place to be.
That's the sandwich generation.
Yeah.
Right. Where you've got childcare, you've got elder care. My husband has MS. So for me, I always joke about being a club sandwich.
You got the 3 layers.
Oh,
my son has now moved out, so he's an adult. But it was for a while.
But it is one of those things that you do have to think about. Don't be the frog in the slowly boiling water.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Something else I would love to touch on, because it's very, I'm very passionate about this topic because I've seen it. And when I start talking about this, you're all going to agree, I'm sure. But it's the anosognosia situation. And so when you understand the word anosognosia, it's a condition that's common in dementia care.
Okay.
Up to 80% of people with Alzheimer's disease may also have this condition called anosognosia. It's where they don't think they have anything wrong. They can't comprehend, I've got a memory impairment, or I've got a judgment problem, or I have a disability. Like my thinking is just fine. I can still cook. I can still clean. I don't need anybody's help. I am perfectly fine. But we know they're not fine. And the primary caregiver knows this. And so what I'm noticing is that the primary caregiver needs a break. And they say, okay, I've got a chance for either respite for like a day program, or maybe respite for, overnight stay for a couple of days or a week or something like that. But the individual, obviously, the brain is telling them they're fine. So I don't need to go there. Why would I need to go there? I don't have anything wrong with me. Why do I need to stop driving? So now there's a challenge for that caregiver. Yes, you do need to stop driving, or yes, you do need to go to the day program. I need my day off, or go to respite because I have to. And I had one caregiver had to go for surgery, and she couldn't leave her spouse, her husband alone, and nobody could care for him. And so she tried to get him into respite, but in some jurisdictions, in some government services, the individual, and in all fairness, should have that autonomy. Sir,
Yes.
do you want to go to the day program? Sir, would you like to go to the respite? And of course, what would his answer be?
No, I don't
So
need to.
now, whose needs are priority?
Mm-hmm.
Whose needs get to go first? Like, is it the person who doesn't want to go to the day program, or is it the person who needs the day program to give them a respite break?
Yeah.
So now we're faced with this real difficult ethical sort of scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Even though that we talked earlier about how individuals with dementia should have their autonomy to make their choices. But when they're affected by anosognosia, I would hope our healthcare system, everyone in that is a professional in the healthcare system, would understand, yes, we have a person with dementia, and they still have amazing abilities. They only have maybe, but they cannot comprehend that their decision is going to impact greatly others around them and cause them poor outcomes. So is there a way we can distinguish a checkbox? Yes, this person has anosognosia. Therefore, these are the circumstances where we need to advocate for the caregiver, the primary caregiver.
Right.
Because and so having that as policy, having that as a way we support those family caregivers would be something that I think needs to happen. As much as, again, we try our best to give the autonomy, but if that caregiver is declining because they're not getting any breaks and they're not getting any help, or with the, like, for example, house cleaning, we say to them, why don't you just let somebody else do the house cleaning to give you a break and bring in a cleaner or home care company? But the person is saying, I don't want anybody in my house. And so the caregiver now can't even get that. So this is a problem I see.
Yes.
And I really hope that we open our eyes up, that if you're listening to this and you have a friend who is saying, oh, I'm refusing help. No, I'm not going to put him in a day program. I'm not going to do that for my wife. Or, it might be because that other person is saying no. And it's not because they don't want that.
Right.
We just don't want to upset that other person. But we have to have that knowledge. Anosognosia is very common. And how we support somebody with anosognosia, we have to get creative. And for example, yes, I know you can drive and you're a very good driver.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're saying these things, but today, how about I drive? Is it okay if I drive for today? You drive next time.
Yes.
I know that's a little bit of what I call therapeutic reasoning. Yep. So we're trying to reason with that person in a therapeutic way. So we are not saying, no, you're never driving again. We are saying, no, not today. How about that? How about I do today, you do next time? Or how about we just get a person to clean our house just for 1 week and we'll see how it goes? Or how about we just try this program because they need you as a volunteer?
Oh, that's a good way to look at it too.
And it's not because I need a break. No, I love being with you all day long. Yeah, I love having you in the home. But to say these things that are creative approaches to say, these people would really like your help. Can you go try it for 1 day?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you might see a difference in shift. So again, every situation will come up with a different strategy for that person.
Mm-hmm.
If that person really, loves to do art, maybe we'll say they want you to show them how you do art, for this 1 day. And then they go in and they really like it. And I've had other caregivers use creative solutions like that. Okay, Mom, let's go to our day program. Yours is here. Mine is over here in this room. Have fun. I'll see you later.
Yeah.
Even though the daughter's leaving to go do her groceries or have a nap, whatever it might be. So
sorry, go ahead.
Creative.
You do. And sometimes you can do it as in, like, I need the help. So we had somebody say, like, my wife is going to get offended if I put a Post-it note on the stove that says, turn me off. Well, I need that. It's not for your benefit. I've been finding that I've left the stove on and I don't like that. That's not safe. So I'm going to put this Post-it note for me. It's not for you. No. I'm going to do it for me. Yeah. or depending on the relationship that the couple might have, sometimes you can as an outsider coming in, another family member going, like, oh my gosh, Carol, she's working so hard, she's doing so much. What do you say you and I go for a walk and we'll let her have a little rest? She really wanted to have a bubble bath. How about you and I go do this so she can have, you want Carol to be happy, and she loves her bubble bath. Oh yeah, she does deserve a bubble bath. Let's go for a walk. Like, just thinking about how you can turn it around for they're doing you a favor as opposed to you're doing something for them or forcing them to do something.
Perfect. That's exactly how it is.
Yeah.
I need a walk. My legs need some exercise. Can you join me? Because I don't want to be alone.
Yeah.
That's another way home support agencies have come in and say, I want to know this neighborhood. I just moved in here. I hear you know the neighborhood very well. Can you take me for a walk to see what it's like around here? There's creative ways. And so that's what we do at Dementia Solutions, is we come up with those very personalized but creative approaches to help. And when we detect anosognosia and we tell the families this, and they go, oh, I didn't know there was a name for this. I just thought they were in denial, or I thought they were just being mean, or they were just, not wanting me to be happy, or they come up with these other lines. I'm like, oh my gosh, no, it's anosognosia. This is so common.
It's a real thing.
And when you figure it out, it's okay. But again, it's a big word. And I know there's times I've done podcasts before where the operator said, maybe we shouldn't talk about anosognosia. And I'm like, because they couldn't even say it. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but this is happening in dementia care. And we need to know the truth. And this is, I'm going to say, majority of the people I work with who contact me because they're at odds and they don't want to fight anymore and they're stressed and they're tired, they are coming to us for those creative solutions to help them through it, because they're dealing with anosognosia for sure.
Well, and bringing that forward is important, because, allowing the caregiver to know that that's what's happening will reduce the stress on the caregiver. So it's actually going to end up reducing the stress on our healthcare system.
Well,
right?
As long as I wish our policymakers and those that come in and do their assessments, I just wish there was a box. That's all I'm asking for. Is a box to tick that says, yes, this person doesn't think they have anything wrong with themselves and they have poor judgment. It's a part of the brain that's saying, they can't make these judgment calls that are of sound mind right now, because it's a common symptom of dementia.
Right.
But when it's impacting the other people around them, then we can't let the caregiver go down.
Yeah, you can't ignore it. It can't be ignored.
That's right.
And it's happening. It's happening.
Well, I can't believe it's our time.
Past 30 minutes.
Whoops. 30 minutes.
Everyone gets a bonus.
Yep, bonus time. Thank you.
We designed the podcast, so we can go over if we want to.
I told you I'm very passionate. So
no, it's beautiful.
No, it's
That's why we love having your wisdom on the show, and bringing all of that knowledge is just amazing and very helpful for those that are dealing with dementia or their caregivers. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you,
Karen. It's been such a joy. And please stay tuned for the end of the month for our compassionate conversations. And thank you all for joining us today. Take care now.
Thank you.